My name is Tyler. I'm still an evangelist here with Zoho. Today, in this session, we're going to be talking about driving conversions with forms and landing pages. Now, a quick thing that I'll note is that forms does not necessarily mean Zoho forms. It just means forms made from Zoho products. So we'll look at a bunch of different forms that are present in the entire ecosystem itself, native forms from specific apps, as well as Zoho forms in general. So the first thing we'll look at is how you can generate leads and gather data using forms and landing pages. Then we're going to do a customer case study. So I'll show you how a customer of ours has used forms to convert more visitors into leads, and then we'll look at a demo to show kind of a way that they could have used the applications that we talk about in the demo. Then we're going to go and look at how you can optimize your conversions. So we're going to go back into PageSense a little bit. And then this last section I added about the differences between apps and why you would use one over the other. And so there's a slide at the end here, or two slides at the end here, that are just saying the differences between landing pages and sites, the differences between a form made in Zoho Forms and forms from other applications, and why you might use one over the other. So generate leads and gather data. So lead generation, very clear. We've all have some sort of lead generation processes in our company. It's the process of generating your audience's interest for your product or service with the goal of turning that interest into a sale. Gathering data is very, very self-explanatory. It refers to learning more about your audience to be able to market and sell to them more effectively. So there's a lot of different ways that we can generate lead, and there's a lot of different ways that we can gather data. How we're going to do that is dependent on our sales and marketing cycles. We can't go into the different processes that your company might use over another company's, but we'll look at some pretty standard demos, and hopefully you'll come up with some ideas after looking at it that are maybe applicable to your own business. The customer that we're going to look at is called Counterculture Coffee. So we'll see what they did, how they used forms to start generating leads on their site. So this is Counterculture Coffee. They are a specialty coffee roaster. They're based in North Carolina. They have a lot more employees than 120. I need to update that. They used to work with the Patchwork software system, and this has been a common theme with all the case studies that I've had in the presentations today. A lot of these companies are starting with, they just go on Google and they find, hey, what CRM should I use? And they pick that. And they find, what survey system should I use? And they pick that. And they don't worry about if they integrate because they're small and they're not thinking about scaling right now. They're just thinking about what's going to work. And it works until it doesn't, right? Until you start to grow and you see that these processes that you began with are no longer scalable and are requiring a lot of manual entry, then you really start to think about, man, I should get into something like Zoho that has a lot of pre-built integrations where data flows from one app to another seamlessly, so I don't have to export leads and then import them into a different application. So that's exactly what they did. They replaced Typeform, which is the survey system they used earlier. It's how they were generating leads on their website. And they integrated Zoho Forms with Zoho CRM. They chose to do that instead of making a CRM form because they had really, really intricate design processes that they wanted to follow that CRM forms didn't fit for them, but they could have used a Zoho CRM form as well. And what they did was they made it so that there was no manual data entry required. So we're going to go back here to our this example site that I've been using all day. This is the Out of Line Design, that design company example site. So if this was Counterculture Coffee's website, while they were using Typeform, they'd have a form like this, or they'd have a form like the contact form here. And what would happen is people would go onto their website and they would fill it out, but Counterculture Coffee would then have to go into the back end of this Typeform system, export the leads, go into their CRM, import it while manually mapping all of the fields. And it worked when they had 5, 10 people doing it a day because they only had to do it one time a day. No big deal. They'll come back in and the salespeople tomorrow will have new leads. But once they started to grow and they started to see that more and more people were filling out this form, they started to have to do this process, this manual process, more and more frequently. And that's just not scalable. You can't have someone going into the back end, exporting and importing all day long, leaving you open for human error, possibly mapping fields wrong so that you have someone in your CRM whose last name is in the first name field, whose first name is in the phone number field, and yada, yada, yada. So then what they did was they created a CRM, or they created a form in Zoho Forms that is integrated with the CRM. So anytime someone fills out this form, they're automatically added to CRM as a lead with all of the data mapped appropriately with no manual data entry. And this is something that's super easy to set up, and I'll show you how this can be set up in Zoho landing page in a second. But we're going to take a look at Zoho Forms now. This is our drag and drop site builder. It's called Zoho Forms. We don't need to make a form live because making a form itself is relatively simple. You'll simply pick a field on the left and drag it over to the right and then start to edit it based on that. But we'll take a look at a form. This is the free trial form. I used to make this form live in the presentations, but it's just boring and it doesn't do anything. Like no one gets anything out of it, so I stopped doing it. But what this form has is just some simple fields that were drag and drop. The only reason I'm showing you this now is because if you do have complicated branding, or maybe not even necessarily complicated branding, but you don't want it to look like this, one of the cool things about Form is it offers branding templates. So if I go up here to the top right and apply a theme, it gives me a list of all these different themes that I can use to apply onto my form so it doesn't look like a bland piece of garbage like it is over here, right? We can put actual, let's choose this bubble wrap one. I don't like that one. I don't like that one either. Let's do coffee beans, counterculture coffee. Look at that. You can brand it with coffee beans. You can brand it with all of these different themes. And so you're having a form on your website that's actually drawing eyes. People might actually want to fill it out and give you their information if you're branding it appropriately. So that's one cool aspect of forms that actually a lot of people aren't familiar with it. I think it may be relatively new because I wasn't familiar with it either. But another way to generate leads that Counterculture Coffee didn't do, but that we want to take a look at now is with Zoho landing page. This is the back end of Zoho landing page, but we're going to take a look at an example landing page. The difference between a site and a landing page is that a site is a single one-pager that's sole purpose is to incite people to do one thing. You're not educating people about your entire product or your business philosophy or your history or anything like that. A landing page is good for promoting an event or getting people to schedule a demo or getting people to give you a call or something like that. This landing page in particular is trying to get people to join this marketing event in London, and everything is geared towards getting people to click these register now CTA buttons, call to action buttons. Now we'll take a look at the editing window. For those of you who use sites, this will look very, very similar because they're built off of the same thing. So it's a simple drag and drop builder where you're able to insert elements. So when you're inserting elements, some of the pre-built integrations within Zoho are elements or are existent right when you're looking at it. So I'll take a look at these apps, for instance. Let's say that you have a landing page where you want someone to book some time with you. If you're using Zoho One and you have access to Zoho Bookings, that integration is already done within landing pages. So you simply click to drag and drop, and you'll now have a Zoho Bookings field where people can schedule time with you, and you can have demos set up from there. If you want to be able to share to social, you can include the social elements as well. Social share feature, so that people are able to share information on your event to social, and you're able to share information to social really seamlessly. We also have integrations that exist on landing pages with forms. And as you can see, these aren't just Zoho forms. We have a CRM form that you can add, a Zoho form that you can add, a begin form if anyone's a begin user, and there's even native forms within landing pages that you can add as well. So we give you a lot of different options within landing pages to be developing and generating these leads. Now there's a lot of different ways that you can use forms. These are just some ideas. This is clearly not an exhaustive list because, if we all sat here for 5 minutes, we could probably think of 20 more that we can use these for. But if you're not using any of these could be some great ideas to think about, maybe starting to utilize in your own marketing strategy. Some feedback forms are great. There's going to be demo scheduling forms. In fact, actually, we might be sending those to you as well if you'd like a demo. Social media contests can be run through forms as well. And all of this stuff can be integrated together if you're using Zoho so that leads and data flow together seamlessly. So now that we've looked at all these ways to generate leads, we want to look at ways that we can start optimizing these methods that we're using. So we're going to go back into some conversion rate optimization. Conversion rate optimization is the process of increasing the percentage of your site visitors who complete a specific site action, like clicking on a CTA or doing anything like that. CRO can be accomplished via content enhancements. We're not going to do that, but we are going to look at split URL testing and A/B testing. And all of these things can be done live on your website as it's running. Now we'll start with the A/B testing. If you're not familiar with A/B testing, what that is testing 2 or more variants of the same thing. So the example I gave earlier is of the website that has page and the CTA with a blue button, and one has the page and the CTA is orange. The only thing that we're testing is which color converts more. But what you can do with PageSense and with sites or landing pages, set that up live. So this demo is moving really quick. You might have to look through, or excuse me, this GIF is moving really quick. You might have to look through it a few times to see what's happening. But what we're setting up here in this GIF is we're setting up 2 variants of this page. One has a field that you're going to enter your email in. The other one doesn't. The other one has a CTA for sign up for a free course. In this split traffic section, we're deciding how much of your website traffic is seeing which variant. So if you're testing a variant that you think might not work very well and you're just trying to get out there and get a little wacky with it, you might want to not route all of your website traffic to that variant, just route a little bit of it, and then you're able to see if it works without risking all of your website traffic seeing that one new variant. And all of this is done live. So when people are going onto your website, they don't know which variant they're going to see, but they will see one or the other. And then after it's run its course, you can decide when the experiment is done. But let's say you let the experiment run for 8 days and you realize that one of the variants is much more affected than the other when you look at the reporting, then you can choose to pick that variant and run that one forever because you know that one's more effective. There's also variants that you can run with personalization. So personalization is when you're specifically targeting leads based off of criteria about themselves, like maybe demographics criteria, customer interests, some of their buying behavior, stuff like that. Personalization, here's another GIF for that. So this is all GIFs from landing pages. What you're able to do is change the content based off of the type of person who might be coming onto our landing pages. So what we can do is set up, we'll set up geographic data, for instance. So you can do an example of this is, let's say you want to show people from France completely different content than you want to show the rest of the world, because when you ship to France, there's some really terrible custom stuff, and it costs you $100 more to ship stuff there. So when you show content to people in France, you want to tell them why they have to spend $100 more, and it's because things are costing so much. So what you can do is route anyone whose IP address is from France to specific content on your site, and then that way you're able to personalize site data based off of that person. That's just one specific example off the top of my head. There's a million different ways you can segment. It's all completely up to your imagination. One thing I wanted to show, and I actually talked about this earlier, but I didn't give an example of it, was a funnel analysis in PageSense. So I mentioned what this is earlier, and this is something that you'll set up on your site using PageSense. And a funnel analysis will show you where people are dropping off in a funnel that you made. So this specific example is showing that 2,154 people have gone to a product detail page on our website. 1,319 of them have added that product to their cart. So we're having a drop-off rate already from when they click on the product detail page to the add to cart page. Only 690 of them are making it to the checkout window, and then only 172 are actually purchasing it and then getting our thank you page. And so what we're seeing from this funnel analysis is that we're having consistent drop-off from page to page. And what we can do now that we've seen this is we can go back into PageSense, or we can go back into landing page or sites and maybe add a pop-up. If someone's about to abandon the cart, maybe we add a pop-up that says, hey, I see that you're interested in this product. Let's do a 20% discount or something like that if they're about to abandon. What this is showing us is that a lot of people are abandoning their cart. We have an abandonment issue, and we need to rectify that somehow. And then the rest is up to you on how you want to set up your system so that you're able to actually address these abandonment issues in regards to PageSense. This is a performance dashboard and analytics. For those of you who aren't familiar with analytics, it's not really involved in the marketing suite, but we talk about it a lot because analytics is one of the most valuable and one of the most important apps in the Zoho ecosystem. This is a business intelligence tool that allows you to blend data from multiple different applications, even third-party applications, so you can get really, really sophisticated reports and kind of a holistic idea of how your business is doing. This is really valuable in a marketing sense because for a lot of marketers, it's really, really easy to get into this idea of marketing without accountability or marketing without responsibility, where you want to go out and you want to try new creative things that are fun, and you might not even want to track the ROI of it because you don't know how effective it's going to be, and you're just out there to try something new and fun. But with analytics, you're actually able to blend, if you're using books, you're able to blend financial data with CRM data, with marketing info data. So you can actually follow a campaign all the way through from when you have initiated a campaign to when they went into your CRM to finally when they paid you in books, so that you're able to put all this information together and figure out what's worked and what's not. This example I'm showing you here is just a campaign's performance dashboard from Facebook. So you're able to see how much you've spent on your ads and what you're actually getting from it. Now we're going to go to forms. I showed forms a little bit. These are all just screenshots of the reporting that's in forms. I mentioned this earlier because this is very similar to what's present in PageSense. Field metrics in forms. This is showing you how many people are clicking on each field in your form, who's starting it, who's actually filling it out, who's abandoning it, who's seeing which pages on your form. And so this is something that you're going to want to take a look at every once in a while. You could export this and put this into analytics if you want to make it a more visual dashboard. This is important to figure out if your forms are actually effective for lead generation or not. If you're getting a form that has 1,639 views and only 50 drop-offs, you're doing something right because that's not a very high drop-off rate. But if these numbers were flipped, or if you were getting 1,639 form views and 1,500 drop-offs, you know that something has gone awry. We should take a look at the field metrics, see which field is causing people to drop off, and then change the required data that we're asking people to enter into that field. So now what apps should you use? And that's a tough question to answer because we don't know your processes, and we'd have to talk to everyone one at a time to figure out what their process was, to figure out which application they should use. But there are a couple good tenets to run by when you're thinking about if I should use Zoho Forms, or if I should use forms made in CRM, or if I should use forms made in landing page, or what have you. So if you want to use Zoho Forms, you're going to want your aesthetic or functional needs to be complex. Otherwise, CRM forms would probably suffice, or forms that are native in whatever app you're trying to get the form in. So if you require extensive illustrative options, if you require advanced conditional fields or more field options, if you want to hide specific fields based on demographic data or based on other types of customer data, you'll want to use forms over other applications. If you want to integrate with third parties, you're definitely going to want to use Zoho Forms. So you wouldn't use a CRM form, a Zoho CRM form, to go and integrate with Salesforce. If you want to accept payments, then you'll use Zoho Forms instead of something else, because payment gateways do integrate with Zoho Forms. Now, if you're using Zoho landing pages instead of sites, one of the ones that I didn't include on here is that if you already have a site, a well-developed site made on, a WordPress or Wix site, you probably don't need to move over to Zoho sites, because everything that we're offering that integrates with Zoho sites will typically integrate with one of these other services. It will just be a little bit harder to integrate like a form or other stuff with a WordPress site. But if you've spent a lot of time designing that WordPress site, you don't have to rebuild it on sites. You really don't. You're good with that. But if you're not using one of these other sites and you're choosing between landing pages or sites, if you're only trying to achieve one specific action, if you're only trying to get someone to an event, I would recommend using landing pages. If you're not trying to describe your product or service, or you're not trying to give people information, or you're not trying to integrate your Zoho desk account, then I would recommend using landing pages, because it's really, really easy to get a landing page up in 10 minutes as long as your design needs aren't super complex.